to the Henry and You Show. My name is Gene Barber. I'm the youth pastor at Healing Grace Church in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. I want to thank Brother Henry for allowing me to be here today and sharing with you. Kind of nervous. The last time I've had all these cameras around, I was being interrogated. So, no big deal. I feel a little less nervous now. And the last time I was on a talk show, it was the Jerry Springer Show. So, there are a few chairs around here to be thrown around, but it's not going to be like that today. So, anyway, today I want to share with you a topic called less is more, which to me, it should be less equals more. I believe this. I'm going to tell you right now, if you're faithful in the little things, God will bless you with more. I believe that. I totally believe that, only because that's my testimony. Every church that I've ever been at, we've always started with five people, 5 or 6 people, and you know, we were just faithful with those 5 people. A lot of youth pastors, when they get into a position, they want the mega. They want everything. They want hundreds of kids, everything to go with it. But let me tell you this, if you can't handle the 5, you can't handle the 100. All right? If you can't feed 5, there's no way you're going to feed 100. If you can't love 5 and make them feel loved, there's no way that 100 people are going to feel loved by your ministry. So, saying that, I believe this. The number one thing that God has called us to do is love. Okay? Love is the most important thing. Jesus is love. And if we are like Jesus, then we are love. Kids need to feel unconditional love. If I was told 20 years ago that God loves me, regardless of who I am and what I've done or what I'll ever do, then my life would have been changed a long time ago. I was a youth pastor for 10 years, thinking I was going to hell every Sunday. It's pretty crazy, right? But I know this, that there are kids out there that feel the same way. There are adults out there that feel the exact same way. Okay? So, I want to encourage you. What's the difference between a preacher and a pastor? Okay? A preacher can speak eloquently, can share with a congregation, but a pastor is a man of love. Okay? He's got to love. If you're not loving, people aren't sticking around. I'm telling you that right now. If you're not sharing and showing love, the love of Christ, people will not stay. Some people ask me, how do you minister to these kids? How do you get kids to stay around? Pretty simple. Unconditional love. It's easy. Every day, every time they come at you, unconditional love. If you don't do that, then you're in big trouble, I'm telling you. So, another thing, as far as less is more, and being faithful with a little. Let me ask you this. If you were to build a house and you didn't have all your materials, how are you supposed to finish that house? If you don't have all the workers that you need, how are you supposed to finish this house? It's impossible. It's not possible. You've got to have everything that there is to finish a house, to make it complete. There was a guy, he was a construction worker, and he for 40 years he did constructions, built houses starting from small all the way up to big, and he was a millionaire. And he asked one of the guy that worked closest to him, he said, I'm going to go on vacation for 4 months, just 4 months, and I'm going to give you $5 million. You build me a house. That's what I want. I want you to build me a house. Well, this guy started thinking, he thought, man, I've done this long enough. He said, if I put 1x4s where there's 2x4s and only put 4 inches of concrete where it should be 8 inches and only use, you know, a 1/4 inch sheetrock and only 1 coat of paint, it'll save me money and I'll be able to keep the rest of the money. So he did that. In 4 months, he hired a lot of low-paying people to come in and build a house. He made it look great on the outside, awesome on the outside, but the inside was not what it was supposed to be. So 4 months later, they finally get it done, and the boss comes home, and he says, "You show me the house," and he starts walking around the house, and he looks around and thinking, "Oh, this looks really, really nice. This is awesome. This is beautiful. You did a great job." And then he went to the worker and handed him the key and said, "Here you go. This is your house. I wanted to bless you for all the hard work you've done for me for all these years." Pretty crazy, right? He took a shortcut. He didn't start with the little things and make it big. He didn't. The inside wasn't what it should have been, and the outside looked beautiful. Sometimes, as youth pastors, we want that beauty. We want everyone to see how wonderful it looks, but we don't take the time to do it right on the inside, and that's what we've got to do. I don't care if you're a small church or a small youth group or big, you've still got to do it the same way. You've got to love people. You've got to connect with people. My logo or slogan is building relationships and changing lives, because it takes this. It takes people to start trusting you to build that relationship, and eventually lives will be changed. Amen. So, another thing is this. If little is much or less is more, I started thinking whenever I came into the realization that God loves me regardless, is this: how do I share with kids? I told Brother Henry, I said, "Man, my mom told me this. If you can't say what you're going to say in 20 minutes as a preacher, you need to sit down." I think my mom should have told that to some preachers. But my way of ministering is this: to keep things simple with kids. All right? If you had 66 books in one book, or chapters in, or books in one book, the Bible, so 66, and you can only take one, which book would you take from that to share and to see all the world saved? For me, it would be Romans. All right? So that's what I do, is I share out of Romans a lot. I try to share the simple things, to tell people that when we were yet sinner, God loved us. That's amazing. That's pretty amazing. When we were doing things we shouldn't be doing, when we were cheating on a test or lying or whatever, stealing, God still loved us. All right? That's pretty important for kids to know, is the love of God through and through, always. So, let me share this story, and I'll finish up with this quick story of how little is much. During the summer, I mow yards and do landscape and stuff like that to make money. I'm not $1 million youth pastor like some of you guys out there. Some of you pastors, senior pastors. I've seen your cars. Anyway, so that's what I do during the summer. And the other day I got a text saying, "Hey, I would like for you to come give me a quote on cutting my yard." And I didn't know who it was. They had just gotten my card from someone else, which is awesome. And so I just answered back, "Okay, shoot me an address and I'll be over shortly." So I put the address in my phone. Those smartphones, they're really smart. And I start driving over there, not knowing where it was or anything. And I start driving, and then all of a sudden I get to an area of Tulsa where it's really a lot of big houses. And all of a sudden my GPS says, "Gene, you're not supposed to be here." Those smartphones. My GPS was like, "You don't belong here." So I was like, "Shut up, let's just keep going." So I keep driving and see these big houses. All of a sudden I see a lady with 2 kids walking, and if you know me, which my work truck is just an old beat up truck, and that's why my GPS was saying you shouldn't be here, because I wasn't driving the Lexuses and stuff like that. But anyway, so I drive through there and I see this lady with her 2 kids walking and wave like I do, and she kind of waves, and then all of a sudden I can't find the house, so I have to turn around, and I see the same lady walking with her kids, and and I wave again, and then my GPS messes up and I get a phone call and I'm lost. So I finally get around the corner and see this lady again, and I literally hear her say to her kids, "Kids, turn around and walk the other way." Pretty awesome, huh? So I guess it was just probably the truck that I was driving. So I get to this house, and this house is amazing. It's beautiful, but the grass is at least knee high. It had not been mowed yet. So I talked to the guy, and he said, "Well, I just want you to tell me what you would do here." And the house, and he's got roses up front, and he's got a courtyard, and the roses back there, and it's beautiful. He shows me all around, and I tell him what my quote is and stuff like that, and he said, "Okay, do it when you can." So the next day I go out there to do it, and he texts me and he says, "Whatever you do, don't touch my roses." I'm like, "Okay, I'm not going to touch your roses." So I mowed his yard and did a good job, and messaged him later, and he said, "Yeah, you did a great job. I want you to come back and do this, cut down a tree and maybe put some mulch down over here and stuff like that. But whatever you do, don't touch my roses." And I was like, "Okay, dude, I don't care about your roses. I'm not going to touch your roses. I might steal one, but I'm not going to touch them. I'll steal it some other way." So, long story short, I go back and I do what he asked me to do. Do a really good job at it. And later that night he said, "Okay, come over and I'll get you paid." And I go back there and he tells me how great of a job I did and stuff like that. And he said, "By the way, I want you to come out here and I want to show you something." And we walked out to his roses, and he said, "You see these roses? It's rose bushes." He said, "This is what I want you to do with these rose bushes." He said, "I want you to cut them this high and do a really good job." And I started thinking, wow, 2 days ago you didn't want me to touch your roses. Now you're all about this. I say that to say this. The first thing I did, was supposed to do, was go out and just cut his yard. But I was faithful with that, and I did a good job. I took extra time, and I did a great job. The next thing I was asked, so then I got a little bit bigger of a job, which was more pay. And went out and did that job. And did a great job. I was faithful in it, and I did a good job. And finally, after proving myself, not that we have to prove ourselves to God in any way, but sometimes we have to be faithful for people to see that it's worth investing in. So, after doing that, he gave me even a bigger job, which was bigger pay. And he finally said, "Gene," he said, "I want you to be my gardener and handyman around here." That's huge. For me, that's huge. In a place where my GPS didn't even want me to be there because I didn't belong, to now I'm taking care of a guy's yard and flowers and plants and stuff. So I'm here to tell you this. Start small. And when you're faithful with those things, you'll increase and get bigger and bigger and bigger. The Bible says this: "Humble yourself in the sight of the Lord, and He will lift you up." That means start small. Be humble. Do things right. Be faithful, and in God's timing, He'll exalt you. Don't try doing it yourself. You'll fail. Trust me. I've done it over and over and over again. So, for you today, if you're a youth pastor or if you're just a pastor, my goal to teach you today is this: just be faithful in the little things. And by doing that, you'll get more, you'll be blessed, and you'll grow. I want to thank you guys for listening, and hopefully Henry will have me back sometime. If not, it's his loss. No big deal. Anyway, talk to you later.